from going from healthy, happy, successful family to gone in a couple months. I had no idea how I was going to get my 2 kids through high school or college or into their future. I was terrified. But more frightening, I had no idea how I was going to get through Christmas. Christmas was his holiday. It was a time of him planning everything. I'm an introvert, he was the extrovert. He arranged for presents, family, road trips. I knew anything that I tried to do was going to be just a way of underscoring the loss that we had all felt. So I did what I could, and what in today's terminology would be called, I planned an alternative Christmas. I was going to take my kids and get on an airplane and fly away from family and friends and trees and presents. And we were going to go skiing in Colorado. Sounded like a great plan. And so I put that in place. 2 days before we were scheduled to leave, 3 days before Christmas, I got great news. There was a huge snowstorm that had just hit Colorado. And we were going skiing. How perfect was that? And then they said something on the side that, yeah, the airports in Colorado are closed. Not going to be a problem because we're 2 days out. Colorado knows how to deal with snow, right? It'll be okay. The next day at work, I got notified from the airlines that our flight from Chicago to Denver was canceled. So I dashed out of work, ran to the airport, stood in line for several hours, waiting, hoping that we would get the ability to book another flight. I had a compelling story to tell the people at the airport. I'd lost my husband, this was my kids' Christmas. So did everybody else. There were a lot of compelling stories that day at the airport, and we all went away without an answer. But I was wildly invigorated as I left there, because suddenly I realized, hey, I still have control here. I didn't have control of cancer, but I had control right now. I could get my kids on that plane tomorrow to Chicago. We could fly there, rent a car, and I could drive them 20 hours on Christmas Eve through a snowstorm, and we would go skiing. I would beat cancer this way. So I called and tried to reserve a car. We had all our ski equipment, our skis, and they said, well, we can give you a compact car. I said, all right, we'll figure that out when we get to Chicago. I stayed up most of the night stressing. I was terrified. The whole idea of this trip was terrifying, much less the sudden little change of plans. We flew to we flew to Chicago, and I went up to the car rental place, thinking, how can I convince them to give me an SUV when they don't have it? I need the 4-wheel drive. We need the room for our skis. And I walked up and said, do you have an SUV? And before I could get my story, she handed me a cardboard and said, hey, pick which model you want. And by the way, do you want an entertainment system in your SUV? Yes, I have a choice. I have control. I want the SUV and the entertainment system. I drove that day for 20 hours or so till we got to right outside of Denver Airport. I was falling apart from lack of sleep, constant decision-making, total fear, and not really knowing what I was doing. And then we hit really bad roads. My daughter, she smelt fear in me, and she thought, she's about to give up and get a hotel, and we're not going to get to our ski resort to ski away our sadness on Christmas Day. So, being 14, she helped by giving me my first and last ever Red Bull. I was drinking a can of liquid Skittles. And boy, I had energy for the next 20 minutes. But I needed to go 3 hours. So as we're leaving the towns of Denver and Colorado and heading into the Colorado hills, and I'm still thinking, what the hell am I doing? I need a sign. And I looked, and up in the hills of Colorado, in Christmas lights, it spelled out, Merry Christmas, eat beef. That was the sign I needed. I was going to get my kids to this friggin' resort by Christmas morning so we could ski away our sorrow and regroup as a family of 3. And that sign said, This trip was the food you needed for your soul. This trip was what you needed to regain control. And we made it, and we skied on Christmas. And I'm not going to say we skied away our sadness, but our family regained control. And for dinner that night, I had beef. Thank you.